Coming up next on a special Largo V News, we're getting you ready for hurricane season. We'll meet folks who lived Hurricane Katrina, as well as hear from the National Weather Service and Largo Fire Rescue as well. We're also giving you a chance to win. Don't go anywhere. Largo V News starts right now. Hey there, and welcome to a special edition of Largo V News. I'm Brandon Graham. Thank you for joining us. Hurricane season is underway, and we want you and your family to be prepared. We're also giving you the chance to win a Walmart gift card to help get your emergency preparedness kit started. Now, emergencies and disasters have certainly been a part of our lives recently. In December 2010, a water main break in Pinellas County forced a boil water advisory for days. More recently, the Midwest has been hit very hard by flooding and tornadoes, and we've even had a few twisters touch down right here in the Tampa Bay area as well. So if there's ever been a year to remind us about how important emergency preparedness is, it's this one. However, it wasn't too long ago that a different year gave us that same reminder, and that was 2005. Hurricane Katrina sent the message loud and clear that evacuation and preparation are critical when dealing with disasters. So to begin this hurricane special, I want to take you back and introduce you to some folks who experienced Hurricane Katrina firsthand. And then we'll meet the 3-star U.S. Army general who led Joint Task Force Katrina. Lieutenant Ian McConnell has been a United States Coast Guard pilot for over 4 years. Stationed in Clearwater, Ian has flown missions over Miami, the Bahamas, and Puerto Rico. But after Hurricane Katrina slammed into the Gulf Coast on August 29, 2005, Lieutenant McConnell began a series of rescue missions he'll never forget.
I got a call early in the morning saying, stay at home, pack a bag, and be ready if we need you. And then Monday night or Monday late afternoon, I got the call to say, come in Tuesday morning at 3 a.m.
Lieutenant McConnell and his crew were given orders to fly to the Coast Guard Air Station in Mobile, Alabama to receive fuel and more information. After arriving in Mobile around 7 a.m. Tuesday, they received instructions to fly west and assist where they were needed.
Well, we kept flying to the west just to search for damage, and then we started hearing these cryptic bursts of radio transmissions from Coast Guard helicopters that were already further west. And as we come to find out, they were in New Orleans hoisting people off of roofs. But we were far enough away that we could only hear little bits of their conversation coming in and out, and the conversations were like, okay, lady on a roof, or man waving a white blanket, or like water to the eaves, little snippets like that. And they piqued our curiosity, obviously, because they didn't jive with what we were seeing below us at the moment. So we just kept flying west and then arrived in the eastern part of New Orleans. The first people we rescued, we picked up from an apartment complex. There was a group of people in the apartment complex up on the third floor balcony waving big white sheets and getting our attention. So we hovered down into position, we picked up a big load, and we actually took them to the helipad at the Superdome. There were some times when we would land, and as the survivors exited the door out onto the dry ground, they turned around and waved at me. And one lady, I remember specifically one lady who had a small child with her, went out, and as soon as she was safely outside of the rotor arc, she turned around and waved at me, and I waved back, and then she gave me sort of a praying thank you kind of signal, and it was very encouraging for me to see that.
Thankfully, many New Orleans residents were able to evacuate. Bo and Andrea Bredeau lived just 2 miles from Lake Pontchartrain. They were able to leave just hours before the storm made landfall.
We weren't really prepared to get in the car and leave, but we knew we had to. And so basically we grabbed the things that we felt weren't replaceable, like pictures and minor things like that. And we got on the roads, and the roads were packed. I mean, traffic moved slowly. Cars were overheating on the side of the road because they were just idling for so long. You just really had no idea. We had no food in our car. We didn't have any of that because we didn't prepare to get on the road. We prepared to stay.
So we were able to go in and rip out the carpet, tear down the walls, get it down to where they could clean the mold that was on the foundation, clean that all up, and get it back to where they could put the drywall back up and move back in. To see how high the water was in places where we were working, one of the houses we were working, the water was over 8 feet, and so it was all the way up to the ceiling in these houses, and so we had to tear from the top all the way down. And we met both of the owners of the houses, and they were just so grateful that someone was willing to help them just to get their lives back in order.
Lieutenant McConnell, now Lieutenant Commander McConnell, still serves in the U.S. Coast Guard, and the Bredeau family are also doing very well and now reside in Florida. In the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, a 3-star U.S. Army general was called on to lead Joint Task Force Katrina. Lieutenant General Russel Honore did an amazing job leading the charge in New Orleans after the storm, and we had the privilege to speak with him about what lessons we should all learn from Hurricane Katrina.
The key lessons for Katrina, American people, is that a disaster can touch you anywhere you live. And the biggest thing we've got to overcome is that it's not if a disaster is going to happen in a community, it's when. Because it could be man-made, it could be come from natural disasters such as flooding, tornadoes, wind incident, or hurricane or volcano. So we have to be prepared.
Special thanks to General Honore for spending time with us. If you'd like to learn more about the General or his book, Survival, How a Culture of Preparedness Can Save You and Your Family from Disasters, visit GeneralHonore.com. Next, let's turn our attention to some general hurricane survival tips, and then we'll hear more specific information from our local National Weather Service and Largo Fire Rescue.
Could this be what your home looks like after the next hurricane strikes? Many people thought a hurricane like Katrina would never really happen. If you had to evacuate, where would your family go? What would you take with you? The time to decide and the time to prepare is now, not when the order is given. Step 1. Get a copy of the Family Disaster Plan. Discuss it with your family members so that everyone knows what to do when the time comes. These free resources are available from the National Weather Service or the American Red Cross websites. Step 2. Put together a supply kit. It should include a supply of water, 1 gallon per person per day, canned and boxed foods that won't spoil, at least a 7-day supply of medications, a first aid kit, flashlights, and special items for infants, the elderly, and family members with any physical limitations. Step 3. Buy a NOAA weather radio, all hazards. It will broadcast warnings, watches, and forecasts 24 hours a day, every day, until a hurricane or other dangerous weather event is gone. Weather radios are sold online or at any store that sells TVs and radios. When the National Weather Service issues a hurricane watch, it means a storm with sustained winds over 74 miles per hour is a possible threat within 36 hours. Pull out that emergency plan and double-check your kit. Install hurricane shutters, test your generator, and make sure you have enough fuel. Bring in patio furniture and any other loose items that could blow into windows. A hurricane warning means that the storm will hit your area in 24 hours or less. Only when emergency managers tell you to evacuate, then do so immediately. Many people who stayed put during Hurricane Katrina were severely injured or killed. Pack up your pets, medicines, the deed to your home, and other emergency items, and get out. It's only a matter of time before a devastating hurricane hits the coast where you live. Make sure you are prepared.
And thanks to the folks at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, for that great video. So what are some more specific ways to prepare for hurricane season? Well, I spoke with meteorologist Daniel Noah at the National Weather Service about that, and here's what he had to say.
The hardest thing about preparing for a hurricane is that most people have never gone through one. What we suggest is that on June 1st, everybody turn their power off in their house for 1 day and see what it's like. Feel that heat and humidity building up in your house. And what would you need to survive that if that were to happen for a week or 2 weeks after a hurricane? That will give you your best idea of how to prepare for a hurricane.
And to follow up that advice for preparation, let's check in with Largo Fire Rescue for a more specific list of items you should include in your emergency preparedness kit.
But we really need to plan for 3 to 5 days of being self-sufficient. So that means we need to have water, at least a gallon per day per resident, per person in our home. We need to have enough food that's not going to go bad, food that people like, but make sure we could use it. Doesn't need to be cooked. You don't want that. You want something that you could easily open. Do you have a manual can opener? Flashlights. We don't, obviously the fire department, we don't recommend candles just because there's inherent dangers and risks with candles. They start fires. So have flashlights. Do we have a generator in the home? And if you use that generator, run it outside. Even though always make sure we have a carbon monoxide detectors in our home. You're going to need fuel. Make sure you fuel in those generators. Make sure you fill up your cars with fuel. And definitely have a plan in place. Know what your evacuation level is and when you have to leave, so that when a hurricane warning is initiated or that it's upon us, we'll get a notice, and the time to evacuate is then. We recommend that people evacuate if you're in the evacuation zone. If you're in a mobile home park, no matter what level of hurricane it is, no matter what category it is, you have to evacuate. So know the routes, know where you're going to go. Do you have a family member on the other side of the state? Somewhere to go where it's a safe haven, whether it's out of the storm or out of the evacuation zone. If you require special needs and a special needs shelter, now's the time to register. And you can do that by calling 587-6714, and we'll be able to help you take care of that. But definitely, let's not wait till it's too late. Let's get a plan in place and recognize the fact that this is an area where one day we can and will have a hurricane event.
Thank you, Josh. All right, well, we've given you a lot to think about and a lot to do to get your family prepared for hurricane season. But please don't be overwhelmed. Just take it one step at a time and one shopping trip at a time. Grab a few items here and there and start to build your kit incrementally. And remember, you don't have to spend a lot of money either. At the very least, just have some basic food, water, first aid, and toiletry items. Sales and coupons can save you big money as well. And lastly, start earlier in the year. You don't have to wait until June to begin assembling your emergency kit. And speaking of emergency kit, as I mentioned at the top of the show, we're giving away a free Walmart gift card to help you get started on that kit. To enter, simply leave a comment under this special VNews link on our Recreation Facebook page at facebook.com/playlargo. And for all the information and links you need to be ready for a storm, visit pinellscounty.org/emergency and largo.com. Well, we have to thank those who appeared in this special hurricane edition of VNews. Also, big thanks to the Largo Walmart for their support. And of course, thank you so much for watching. And remember, if you're not yet receiving Largo e-newsletters, signing up is easy. Just visit largo.com and click on the Sign Up for E-Newsletters link. Thanks again for watching Largo V News. We hope you and your family have a safe and quiet hurricane season. We'll see you next time.